Stimming is literally anything you do that moves energy in your dynamic system. Particularly what brings your attention back to your body, back into connection with the body. So again, stimming is anything that moves energy through your dynamic system. And by dynamic, I mean many or multi-layered system. We've got emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual. And energy is meant to circulate freely through those 4 layers, always in connection, in an interdependence. And we get trained pretty readily in this life, in this era, in this social, cultural, historical contexts to disassociate, to let feeling and pain and discomfort store up in our bodies and retreat into the mental, the spiritual, the masculine realm. So stimming is anything that reconnects, that draws your attention to your senses, to your sensational, somatic experience, to the feelings moving through you that are separate from the thoughts. Always interdependent, always interconnected. We experience life through our senses, through sensation. And then we have feelings and thoughts related to our sensations. So stimming is activating. It's reactivating the connection between our many layers of our system. It's reclaiming the value of the feminine, of the nonverbal, of the feeling and somatic realm of the body, of the natural magical wisdom of the body. Not elevating it above the masculine, mental, spiritual realm, but in balance with equal value. So again, I would never say bored, but I would say available. It's in those moments of not doing that we are being. And being is really connected to stimming. Stimming brings us back into our being so that yes, we are available to do. But the being is feminine, and feminine is foundational in terms of the layers of feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine. It's the feeling world that we'll explore first as discharge, and that is feminine. And there's a reason that we're exploring it first, even though everything is connected in a cycle and feeds into each other and has the same amount of value that feeds into the value of each other, and so on infinitely. So stimming lets us wander. Stimming allows us to be, because we have to be in this flesh, physical, human body in order to do. We need to be connected to our beingness, and stimming reconnects those layers of our being so that we can be this universal definition of high functioning that we're going to explore in this introduction to DCFO. We are, all of us, infinite beings. Neurodivergents, what I say is a more nonverbal, feminine, feeling, sensing based person, has accentuated access to the experience of infinity. So stimming is any activity, any repetitive movement of any kind that promotes circulation of energy between the multiple layers of the human being. Emotional is charged energy in motion. The mental realm, also charged energy in motion. The physical, which is the somatic experience of those, of that charged energy of feelings and thoughts. And then the spiritual, the extrasensory experience of life, of all of it, of all of the above. So this is a simple definition of stimming, the reconnecting of the layers of our being, that I don't see being spoken about. And so I'm really excited to be having these conversations and bringing this information forward that feels so true and relevant to me and my experience, and the progress, the immense progress, the rapid radical results I've had in my life have come in tandem with accepting this stimming as such, as any activity, any movement that reconnects the layers of my being, allows energy to circulate through my whole being. In examining this definition of stimming that I'm providing here and now, we see the need for stimming, the universal benefits of stimming, how it is essential to any person's authentic, actual thriving, and how it can save the world. And so DCFO, and particularly this introduction to DCFO, is designed just for that, to examine this definition of stimming that I am providing here and now. Stimming is any repetitive movement or activity that reconnects, that circulates energy through the many layers of your being as a human. So this is what happens in trauma, is that the experience, the emotion is perceived as too much. And so we shut down, we disassociate from the body that is somatically experiencing, and that really shuts down our system, that shuts down our access to thriving. We become disembodied. There is a disconnect between the layers of our body. And so we do this retreat into the mental realm. That's where we've been trained to go in our patriarchal society, to go and be intellectual and spiritual. Those are both masculine elements that have their place, that have their equal value. But what we're doing here, what we're doing with stimming, with conscious DCFO stimming, and our exploration here in this 30-day challenge, is we are bringing the feminine back in line with the masculine value. We're bringing the feeling, the emotional, and the sensational, somatic realm, that natural wisdom that resides there in the feminine, in the infinite, in the nonverbal. We're bringing that back in line with the verbal, mental, spiritual, masculine realm. So we'll be talking about that a lot through our 30-day challenge. These layers of our being are made to be fluently connected, freely collaborating at all times. We are actually designed to overcome trauma and continue expanding in our capacity to be with the high sensation of this life. And that is what it means to thrive. That's what it means to be well. That high sensation doesn't shatter us. That we are anti-fragile, even if we are neurodivergent with the thin glass psyche. With this very accessible understanding of ourselves as unstable characters, as a plethora of characters. That is what it is to be an infinite being, is that you are flexible, dynamic, and able to express in many ways. And so we're exploring how to really make that work for us. How do we work with ourselves where that reality is so overtly awesome every day and such a contribution to the collective? As we do this for ourselves, it automatically ripples outwards. And we can share this too. And that's why we're exploring this in words and in activity and in nonverbal or somatic activity, so that we have a variety of ways to share this information with others. Flexibility and openness are truly natural states for all of us. It's how we come into the world. And I mean, my hope is that that's the state I'm in when I leave this world or leave this body. And I really believe that that's available for us. We've been trained out of it, and DCFO offers us an understanding of how stimming, whatever kind of stimming we choose, whether you're devoted to yoga or this or that, it's all stimming. And it's about your presence with your relationship, your presence with the benefit, your presence with the concept of DCFO and how it is engaged through whatever you're choosing. There is benefit. This becomes the cure for all when we bring our attention to it, which can seem overwhelming, can seem all, oh, so many words and so much to think about, but it's really simple. And so if at any point you're finding that the simple is feeling inaccessible to you, please reach out. I'm still learning. And I'm also inherently more of a non-verbal person. So I would love to send you all of this as psychic messages, and I'm doing my best at that. However, I am enjoying this task of putting together these visual and verbal representations of what I think is essential knowledge for our collective thriving at this time and for the foreseeable future. So it's a cure-all within our own system, because when our system is fluently circulating energy between our many layers, we are no longer diseased or disordered. And our body is going to shut down in some way at some point. And we can be with that in a real freedom of experience, a fear-free experience. And so disease and disorder don't really apply, even in that natural breakdown of our body. We, through exploring DCFO, through daily conscious stimming, it becomes more of a muscle memory, it becomes automatic, it becomes something that is creating who we are and how we're showing up. It's like muscle memory. And anything that we repeat becomes us. It becomes a part of our character, our presentation. We all have personalities that we come into. We're very unique, and yet we are all constantly creating our character, our values, our beliefs, the way that we work with thought and feeling does define our life. The thoughts and feelings don't have to define who we are, but how we work with them does define our character in this life. And so that's what we're playing with here. And when we do that with ourselves, when we allow energy to circulate between the many layers of our being, or those 4 particular layers of our being that we're talking about in DCFO, emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual, when we allow energy to circulate freely, as we are practicing in this DCFO challenge, we eradicate abuse in ourselves. And that translates outwards. That's how stimming saves the world. Let's keep coming back to this.